Welcome, all you sinners and sodomites, especially the sodomites, to Bible Stories for Atheists. I am Josh.
I'm Lynn.
And we are your guides to the biasly based stories, literally, literarily littering the Bible. In the last episode, we talked about the Tower of Babel, and we were also introduced to Abram/Abraham.
Yes.
But in this episode, we meet Hagar, Abram's concubine, and Ishmael is born. And then we have so many covenants between God and Abram.
More. The same,
Yes.
but more.
All of them.
It's on repeat.
Yeah. And we get Sodom and Gomorrah.
I was like, when you said especially the sodomites at the beginning, I was like, why especially the sodomites this one time?
Yeah, well, we go back to the beginning of the sodomites.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
We find out, does it make any fucking sense, that story about the sodomites?
Spoiler alert, no.
No need to fast forward. So strap in and strap on for Lot's Bad Day. So, in the last episode, we met Abram, soon to be called Abraham.
Abraham.
Yes. And he is traveling with his family, looking for a new home.
Yes.
He has a nephew named Lot, who has settled in Sodom, which I'm sure will go great for him. And Abram has a wife named Sarai, who is barren.
And also maybe his sister.
And she is apparently also his sister. Yes. His half sister.
Yeah. What the fuck does that mean?
What?
How is she his half sister?
That means that they have like the same dad, or in different moms, or same mom and different dads.
Yeah, but they didn't really distinguish between that back then, right? If you had different moms, it's because it was your dad hooking up with like
just another woman,
the slave or whatever.
Right. I don't know.
And they were all fully his children. They didn't really distinguish between like halves.
Yeah, like it would be very unlikely for it to be the same mother and two different fathers.
Right.
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 Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
She would have gotten stoned before the baby was born.
Right. Maybe, we don't know.
And not stoned in the good way.
Right. We don't know, though, what the tradition was at this point, because this is pre-religious.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Now, Sarai, Abram's wife, bore him no children. She had an Egyptian slave whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said to Abram, "You see that the Lord has prevented me from bearing children? Go into my slave. It may be that I shall obtain children by her." And Abram listened to the voice of Sarai. So after Abram had lived 10 years in the land of Canaan, Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar the Egyptian, her slave, and gave her to her husband Abram as a wife. He went in to Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, she looked with contempt on her mistress. Then Sarai said to Abram, "May the wrong done to me be on you. I gave my slave to your embrace, and when she saw that she had conceived, she looked on me with contempt. May the Lord judge between you and me." But Abram said to Sarai, "Your slave is in your power. Do to her as you please." Then Sarai dealt harshly with her, and she ran away from her. How sad for Hagar, right?
Well, obviously, it's a really fucked up situation.
Yeah.
First of all, I just want to point out something that is consistent in the Bible in terms of how they refer to sex.
Oh, going in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how gross that is?
Yeah.
It's
going
so
in
gross.
to
The people out there, the prudes out there who are like, I don't like it when you say fuck. It's like, I would much rather have somebody say I fucked her than I went into her. It is so much more gross.
Went into
oh,
her.
God. Ugh. I have like an automatic visceral reaction to hearing that phrase. Like I immediately like kind of half vomit in my mouth every time the phrase went into her is uttered. I don't know why, but I don't know if it's more visually like painting a picture.
Right.
But it's so gross.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
Yeah.
Now that that's out of the way.
The way Hagar looks in contempt at Sarai and Sarai freaks out, it reminds me a lot of the whole thing that we looked into with the evil eye superstition, know, and the Hamasa hand.
Yeah.
Or Hamza hand.
Hamza hand. Yeah.
Which is interesting. So it just kind of, in this episode, there's a couple of examples of this where it's like, it's all just superstition.
Yeah.
This whole thing is like, we pretend like it's more than that.
Right.
But really, the Bible just comes down to superstition.
Definitely.
And you see it probably easiest in these early books where it really is like compiling a bunch of superstition together.
Right.
But
yeah.
Anyway.
So she knows that she's barren and decides that like the way around this is her slave.
Yes.
So whatever children her slave has,
because she owns her,
will be her children.
Yeah. Is apparently what her thought is.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if that would change though, if she actually had a baby,
Yeah, right.
Like,
right.
I wonder, will that really be how she feels?
Yeah. And odds are high that Hagar did not look at Sarai any differently, other than the normal contempt probably for, I don't know, forcing her to have sex with a man she probably didn't want to have sex with.
And get pregnant.
Yeah. None of that is something she probably wanted to do. My guess is she was probably like real young. And at this point, Abram, we'll call him.
Yeah.
It was not.
No.
And
we already know. I can't remember. We see that he's 99 years old pretty soon. Yeah, pretty soon. It says he's 99 years old.
Yeah. Listen. No matter how long a man lives in this time, whether it be 600 years or 200 years or whatever it is, a 99-year-old penis is not something that anybody really wants to deal with.
No.
And they never say the women's ages, except for, I think a couple times they mentioned how old they were, like a handful of times.
Yeah. Sarai's age is going to come up also in this. Yeah.
Right. But my guess is that Hagar is not that old.
I would actually guess that she is probably about the same age as Sarah.
You think so?
Sarai. Yeah, I think so. That's my guess because I feel like Hagar came with Sarai when they got married.
Okay,
but I might be wrong.
What an interesting idea to have, though.
Yeah,
like I can't have babies. I mean, people do it.
And it comes up
surrogates.
And this is another thing that happens again later in Genesis. Let me check ChatGPT. Times in Genesis when
surrogates.
Surrogates had babies for patriarchs. There are a few instances of surrogates having babies for patriarchs, Hagar and Ishmael, Bilhah and Dan and Naphtali. So in Genesis 30, Rachel, Jacob's wife, was initially barren.
Mm-hmm.
She had her maidservant Bilhah.
That's right.
To Jacob. Yep. As a surrogate.
And then,
so it's the same
God
story.
Blessed her with a fruitful womb after that. Is the same thing going to happen here with Sarah? Does she?
Yes.
Yeah.
She ends up having it.
Right.
It's the same. Yeah. So again, these are duplicate stories like we've talked about before.
Right.
Duplicate stories because these are compilations of stories from all these different tribes that had their own versions of their stories of founders and everything. And there were some duplicates because they were around each other. They shared stories.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway,
so Hagar runs away is where we landed. Sarai gives her up to her dude and is like, here you go. Here's the baby maker. Yeah. And of course, he's not going to be like, no, honey, I only want to have sex with you. He's like, okay.
All right, sure.
Sure.
If it's so important to you, I guess I'll have sex
Any
with your
hole is a goal.
Any hole is a goal.
So then it works.
Mm-hmm.
She gets pregnant, has a baby.
Yes.
And then Sarah is pissed. Well, I'm just going to say Sarah.
But yeah.
Listen.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Sarah.
Yeah.
Is pissed. And apparently Hagar gives her the side eye.
Right.
And now Hagar has to go on the run.
Right.
Because Sarah's pissed. Because her man said, I don't care what you fucking do to her.
Yeah.
She's
your slave. Yeah.
I'm just going to fuck her when you tell me to.
Yeah.
I don't have any hand in this whatsoever.
I'm very busy doing things.
Abram things.
Abram things.
Godly.
Yeah.
Godly things.
Probably digging wells.
Chosen one things. You understand? Don't bother me with this inane bullshit.
I'm under a lot of pressure. The angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, the spring on the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, slave of Sarai, where have you come from and where are you going? She said, I am running away from my mistress Sarai. The angel of the Lord said to her, return to your mistress and submit to her. The angel of the Lord also said to her, I will so greatly multiply your offspring that they cannot be counted for multitude. And the angel of the Lord said to her, now you have conceived and shall bear a son. You shall call him Ishmael, for the Lord has given heed to your affliction. He shall be a wild ass of a man, with his hand against everyone, and everyone's hand against him, and he shall live at odds with all his kin. So she named the Lord who spoke to her, you are El Roi. For she said, have I really seen God and remained alive after seeing him? Therefore, the well was called Bir Laha Roi. It lies between Kadesh and Bered. Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram named his son, whom Hagar bore, Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore him Ishmael. There you go, 86 years old.
86, yeah, gross.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure when he's 99 years old, he's going to talk about Sarah being like 90 or 80 years old. I think 90 years old. So like 10 years younger than him.
Yeah.
So I kind of would think Hagar would be, like I said, around that age.
If she came with her, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. Gross.
Either way, this is a very helpful angel telling her to go back to the abusive relationship she's from.
They're gonna give her lots of babies.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
Well, I mean, like, what more of a motivation would you want in life than to have all these descendants one day?
Right. Who aren't going to be attributed to you at all.
Whatsoever, yeah. Really, not really, yeah.
And your first one is going to be a wild ass of a man.
Wild ass of a man. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is her only child, and then, like, she'll just have more descendants from Ishmael.
Right. Was the angel telling her that the child was going to be a wild ass of a man, like, a motivator, like a good thing?
I don't know. I think it's racial propaganda again, because this is like we've talked about this before. Ishmael is where Islam comes from. This is where it branches off. Islam kind of follows the path of Ishmael, whereas Judaism follows the path of Isaac. Yeah, it's so I think this is them kind of making a slight towards that branch, but
sure.
I don't know.
It's just a weird thing to tell the mother that your child and making it sound like that's the benefit. Why she should go back.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's going to be a wild ass of a man who has his hands on everyone and everyone has their hands on him.
Yeah, because it sounds like he's constantly at odds.
Yeah.
He's constantly getting into fights.
Oh, he's throwing hands.
Yeah, that's what I
was
think.
Thinking sexy, touchy.
No, I think it's throwing hands.
Oh,
I think it's throwing hands.
Yeah,
I think it's a violent thing.
Gotcha.
So that's why I think this is kind of supposed to be derogatory against.
I see.
But yeah, like then that makes no sense why the angel would be saying it.
Right.
But
yeah. Why wouldn't you just then, I don't know.
Yeah.
Drown your baby or something.
Well, let's see where this goes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that Abraham names him Ishmael.
Yeah.
But the angel named him Ishmael. Hagar named him Ishmael.
Yeah.
Abram agreed to the name.
Yeah. Which also
he was probably like hearing like if she's a woman who knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
She made sure she talked about the name in a way that it would plant seeds into his brain.
Make it seem like it was his idea.
And then he would be like, I have a great idea.
Yeah.
Let's name him Ishmael.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. Ladies, listen.
Yeah.
You have a man at home who won't listen to you. There are ways to make him listen.
Yeah. Well, that's weird. I got a coffee this morning from somebody whose name was Ishmael. Oh, that was a weird thing. Here.
Yeah.
Did you do good coffee? Ishmael must really like good coffee. Oh, yeah. Anyway.
I think I heard that name means like honored
big
by God
dick.
Most High. Big dick energy.
Yeah.
Big God dick energy is what I heard that means. Oh, well,
yeah.
I gotta
go. I gotta go do slave stuff.
Carrying.
Being your concubine.
Carrying what is going to be one of the founding fathers of a sect of this religion.
Yeah.
And she's off washing Sarai's panties.
Right. Yeah.
By hand.
Yeah. Because Sarai is so busy not being a mom.
Lounging around all day.
Right. Eating bonbons. In Genesis 17, God is going to give this whole speech, so I'm breaking it up just to make it easier to digest.
Okay.
When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, I am God Almighty. Walk before me and be blameless. I will make my covenant between me and you, and will make you exceedingly numerous. Then Abram fell on his face, and God said to him, As for me, this is my covenant with you. You shall be the ancestor of a multitude of nations. No longer shall your name be Abram, but your name shall be Abraham. For I have made you the ancestor of a multitude of nations. I will make you exceedingly fruitful. I will make nations of you, and kings shall come from you. I will establish my covenant between me and you and your offspring after you throughout their generations, an everlasting covenant to be God to you and to your offspring after you. And I will give to you and to your offspring after you the land where you are now an alien, all the land of Canaan for a perpetual holding, and I will be their God. God said to Abraham, As for you, you shall keep my covenant, you and your offspring after you throughout their generations. This is my covenant which you shall keep between me and you and your offspring after you. Every male among you shall be circumcised. You shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskins, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and you. Throughout your generations, every male among you shall be circumcised when he is 8 days old, including the slave born in your house and the one bought with your money from any foreigner who is not of your offspring. Both the slave born in your house and the one bought with your money must be circumcised. So shall my covenant be in your flesh, an everlasting covenant. Any uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. That's promised blessing number 3, folks. 3 times God has said all of this to him so far. Only now
he needs penis skin.
He needs penis skins.
He needs that engagement ring.
Yes, that engagement penis ring.
Yeah.
The engagement cock ring.
The cock ring. Yeah. Yes. It's insanity. Yeah,
this is where this shit starts.
Insanity to me. Okay. Yeah. That anyone, first of all, is like, God just chose a person to be like
Abraham.
His guy.
Yeah.
Like he just chose this guy to be his guy.
Yeah.
And everything then trickles down from this guy.
Yeah.
That sounds crazy.
Made up
to me.
It sounds like bullshit. It
sounds like somebody was bullshit. Like, I'm God's guy.
Yeah.
And you have to chop off your penis skin now for him.
All your kids too when they're 8 days old.
Which, like, that's not what they do. I guess that is what they do in Judaism, right? They do the bris. Is that at 8 days old?
Yep.
For some reason, for the longest time, I thought that that's what they did at their
bar mitzvah. No, when they're 13. Yeah. No. Thank goodness.
I don't know why. And it's not a recent. I think it was when I was younger. It's probably before I knew anything about anything.
Yeah.
That's what I thought part of the bar mitzvah was getting your penis skin chopped off.
Yeah. No, thankfully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they used to do that with their mouths.
Yeah. No, that's not a used to.
Oh, right. There's some that still do.
There are some that still do, where the rabbi will clean it with their mouth.
Gross. Anyway,
so I've heard. I've heard. And
true.
I don't know. But there's a lot of false information. Yeah, there's a lot of false information about Jewish people out there, obviously, and that's not good. So,
why do you think God wanted
penis skin?
The penis skin.
That's a great question.
Is it because it's the only skin on a man's body that is like you can give up?
Oh, you mean of all the skin?
Yeah. If you're going to ask for a piece of flesh.
Yeah.
Why that piece of flesh?
Why not an earlobe?
Why not an earlobe, a pinky finger, the padding between your thumb and your pointer finger?
A pinky toe.
Fucking the superfluous male nipple.
Right. Why not men cut off your nipples?
Right. Why is it the penis?
If Lindsay was God.
No men would have nipples. I wouldn't have even built them with nipples.
You're right. That's the thing. Why didn't God just build them without the penis skin?
Right. If he's so offended by the penis skin.
So this is, I was thinking that too. What is this supposed to do? I feel like if I talk to a Christian about this, what they would probably tell me is go to church, you fucking heathen. They would probably tell me that it's to prove your dedication to God, right? But is that something that you actually need to do? Is God unable to know your dedication without you mutilating your body or your child's body?
Well, right. Are you okay? So if you are a man and you are, allegedly, and you have a son. Mm-hmm. And you give up at 8 days old.
Yeah.
You cut off his foreskin.
Right.
Are you showing your dedication to God or his dedication to God?
You're showing your dedication because you are dedicating the child to God.
So
it is your dedication.
Right. And what if that guy goes on to not have any children? How can he prove his dedication to God if he has no foreskin to give up to God?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, then, yeah,
I assume
you get off easy then, I guess.
There were a lot of priests out there, right?
Yeah.
When they started becoming things that wasn't that they didn't have children. They were too busy being priestly. Or is that just
I have no idea what it would have been.
Okay.
Jewish priests would have had wives, so okay. I don't know. Also, aren't we supposed to leave our genitals as is? You
would think so.
As God intended them.
I mean, that's their excuse for why you don't get tattoos
or trans care. You're supposed to leave your genitals as is,
except the foreskin.
Except the foreskin, I guess.
God wants the foreskin.
Yeah.
Nom 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 nom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tasty foreskin.
Foreskinos.
They're like pork rinds,
but less fat.
Yeah. I do know that a big argument for circumcision back in the day was cleanliness. But that's kind of been proven to be a falsity as well.
It doesn't make any sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
It's you got to wash it just like everything else.
If you are going, if the part of your penis under your foreskin is going to get gross, your penis is going to be gross.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you have foreskin there or not.
It's not like we evolved wrong.
Right.
And that's it's not.
Right.
It's just an extra thing,
right.
That we automatically have to cut off of every child.
Yeah. Is I wonder if at one point in time there was also, and I could totally see this being the case without doing any research whatsoever, is that the foreskin would hold venereal diseases.
Venereal diseases.
Venereal diseases. I could see that being a thing people thought.
Oh yeah, a thing people thought.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's
accurate, I don't think that foreskins hold venereal diseases. I'm just saying I could see it being a train of thought.
Totally.
At some point in time.
Let's also keep in mind, as we covered in the first episode of Creation, that Lilith has dominion over boys for how long after they're born?
8 days, right?
It's 8 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you don't have an angel's name or their likeness in an amulet, she could take the baby.
Right. Yeah.
It's an interesting thing that this is obviously coming from the same place of a superstition about baby boys 8 days and the first 8 days of their life, know? So again, it's all superstition. This isn't real stuff. It's superstition.
Sure. Yeah. There's no reason to cut off a piece of your body for the Lord.
No. There's no reason to cut off a piece of your 8-day-old child's body for the Lord. Yeah.
Right.
Any Lord that would expect you to isn't real.
Yeah.
That's not a hard thing to...
I know.
That's not a hard thing to understand.
It's like the reason that he made you with the extra foreskin so that you could then later cut it off for him.
Right.
As a way to prove yourself. It's like he's...
though.
It's like he's
why wanting, is he unable to know?
It's like he's wanting you to join his fraternity, and this is the hazing.
This is the hazing.
Yeah. Is cutting off the penis skin.
Right.
You did also say... any slaves born in the house, which is fine because they're also babies, but any slaves bought with your money. So does that mean adult men?
Yeah.
That's slaves? Yeah. If they're not circumcised, when you get them, you have to circumcise them.
Right. As we're about to see, it'll talk about that. Yeah.
All right. It's fucked up.
No, yeah.
Can you imagine having extra penis skin for your whole life? Yeah. And then all of a sudden you get bought by this person and this crazy dude is like, now you have to cut off your penis skin?
Right. Yeah.
I'd have been like, can you I'm going to go.
I'm just
going to go.
I'm just going to not.
Yeah.
You know what? What if instead of God wanting penis skin from Abram, what if God had just said, if you really want to be a follower, you would free all your slaves?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
What if God had said that?
Right.
Wouldn't he seem more like God?
Definitely, well, a reasonable, loving God, but
like an all-powerful, all-loving God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but he didn't. Are your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents, great-great-great-grandparents, great-great-great-great-grandparents, great-great-great-great-great-grandparents, or even great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents still alive and expecting a place to stay?
5,000 descendants? How did we end up needing to take care of Adam?
He smells like milk.
It's not like they're spry 900-year-olds. They're 9 times worse than a 100-year-old.
With housing prices on the rise and death still seemingly unwilling to take the extreme elderly, God, in his supreme wisdom, has decided it's up to us to take care of 18 generations all at once.
And if you're deciding between putting the bed of Grandma Gertrude or Great-Grandpa Enosh out in the swamp because it's the only fucking place left for these people, then it's time to invest in a Genesis home.
Genesis homes are engineered for the growing family, an unhealthily growing family, because these old people won't just die for the sake of their kids.
Genesis homes are modular. You can just add new rooms to the home to fit all the ancient ancestors you have wandering around wearing their Make Eden Great Again hats and complaining about Canaanite music.
Each room comes with a single twin bed. Seniors are expected to stay in their own beds as we don't need these wrinkly dust bags having Benjamin Button babies.
And the rooms are designed to be easily disposed of after your beloved relative is finally dead.
Don't bother cleaning. It's mostly cardboard. You can just burn that shit down.
And put in 3 new rooms because now you're suddenly taking care of Great Uncle Lamesh and his wives.
Lamech.
Okay.
You'll love having him around. He's a poet. It's not a poem when it's a murder confession, Aunt Cindy.
Don't get bogged down in the haunting claustrophobia of the immortal elderly amassing around you.
Just think of them as a romantic reminder that you and your wife's family trees weave together like a decorative ficus.
Use promo code BSFA at checkout to get 10% narrower beds with your order.
Genesis homes are only available in the continental United States, the only country that would jump at the chance to put a 900-year-old in charge. God said to Abraham, "As for Sarai, your wife, you shall not call her Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name. I will bless her, and also give you a son by her. I will bless her, and she will give rise to nations. Kings of peoples shall come from her." Then Abraham fell on his face and laughed and said to himself, "Can a child be born to a man who is 100 years old? Can Sarah, who is 90 years old, bear a child?" And Abraham said to God, "Oh, that Ishmael might live in your sight." God said, "No, but your wife Sarah shall bear you a son, and you shall name him Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his offspring after him. As for Ishmael, I have heard you. I will bless him and make him fruitful and exceedingly numerous. He shall be the father of 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear to you at this season next year." And when he had finished talking with him, God went up from Abraham. Then Abraham took his son Ishmael and all the slaves born in his house or bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and he circumcised the flesh of their foreskins that very day, as God had said to him. Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, And his son Ishmael was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. That very day, Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised, and all the men of his house, slaves born in the house, and those bought with money from a foreigner, were circumcised with him. It got a little redundant.
Yeah. Do you know how when you make pancakes?
Yeah.
And the first one is always the test pancake. Who do you think?
I would hope. I would hope it would have been Abraham.
Do you think?
But I bet it was Ishmael.
I don't even think it was either of them.
I bet it was Ishmael.
I think they did all their slaves first.
Oh, probably. Well, Ishmael is technically a slave, right? He's the son of a slave.
Oh, yeah. You know? I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like the first one probably didn't
go well.
Like how you don't know how to cut.
We're just gonna have to figure this out as we go, guys.
Right.
We're just gonna start easy. We'll start with the smallest one.
Did God provide instructions?
Everybody whip them out. We'll start with the smallest.
He gave Noah very exact instructions.
Yeah.
On how to build a boat.
Did not do that for
Didn't give any instructions to Abraham on how to cut the penis skin off your penis.
Took a little bit too much off.
Too far down on the shaft.
Yeah. Too far down on the shaft. If you're going any farther.
Gaping wound between the head of your penis and the rest of it. Gross. It's so gross. Oh, man.
This is one of the very few times laughing is mentioned in the Bible, which is weird for a book that brings so much joy to people. Laughter does seem to be associated with the story of Isaac, the baby, specifically. So we're going to see it come up again in a second, but yeah, it's weird, is it? Because I think Isaac means something like with laughter. Or
yeah. Well, it is ludicrous to think that 100-year-old man and a 90-year-old woman could have a baby. So I could see where that would elicit some sort of laughter. But I also would like to note that in this passage, Abraham fell down on his face twice.
He's a clumsy son of a bitch. Basically, he's like Biden.
Did he get up? So the idea would be that he fell on his face, got back up, and then fell on his face again.
Yeah.
Okay, well, he's going to have another baby.
Mm-hmm.
Exciting.
Yeah, super exciting. And now for a completely different story. The Lord appeared to Abraham as he sat at the entrance of his tent in the heat of the day. He looked up and saw 3 men standing near him. When he saw them, he ran from the tent entrance to meet them and bowed down to the ground. He said, "My Lord, if I find favor with you, do not pass by your servant. Let a little water be brought, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. Let me bring a little bread, that you may refresh yourselves, and after that you may pass on, since you have come to your servant." So they said, "Do as you have said." And Abraham hastened into the tent to Sarah and said, "Make ready quickly 3 measures of choice flour, knead it, and make cakes." Abraham ran to the herd and took a calf, tender and good, and gave it to the servant, who hastened to prepare it. Then he took curds and milk and the calf that he had prepared and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree while they ate. They said to him, "Where is your wife, Sarah? I will surely return to you in due season, and your wife Sarah shall have a son." And Sarah was listening at the tent entrance behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in age. It had ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. So Sarah laughed to herself, saying, "After I have grown old and my husband is old, shall I be fruitful?" The Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh and say, 'Shall I indeed bear a child now that I am old?' Is anything too wonderful for the Lord?" At the set time I will return to you in due season, and Sarah shall have a son." But Sarah denied, saying, "I did not laugh," for she was afraid. He said, "Yes, you did laugh." Then the men set out from there, and they looked towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them and set them on their way. The Lord said, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do, seeing that Abraham shall become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him? No, for I have chosen him, that he may charge his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord by doing righteousness and justice, so that the Lord may bring about for Abraham what he has promised him." Then the Lord said, "How great is the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah, and how very grave their sin. I must go down and see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry that has come to me, and if not, I will know." So the men turned from there and went toward Sodom, while Abraham remained standing before the Lord. Then Abraham came near and said, "Will you indeed swipe away the righteous with the wicked? Suppose there are 50 righteous within the city. Will you then sweep away the place and not forgive it for the 50 righteous who are in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to slay the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous fare as the wicked. Far be it from you. Shall not the judge of all the earth do what is just?" And the Lord said, "If I find at Sodom 50 righteous in the city, I will forgive the whole place for their sake." Abraham answered, "Let me take it upon myself to speak to my Lord. I who am but dust and ashes. Suppose 5 of the 50 righteous are lacking. Will you destroy the whole city for lack of 5? And he said, "I will not destroy it if I find 45 there." Again he spoke to him, "Suppose 40 are found there." He answered, "For the sake of 40, I will not do it." Then he said, "Oh, do not let my Lord be angry if I speak. Suppose 30 are found there." He answered, "I will not do it if I find 30 there." He said, "Let me take it upon myself to speak to my Lord. Suppose 20 are found there." He answered, "For the sake of 20, I will not destroy it." Then he said, "Oh, do not let my Lord be angry if I speak just once more. Suppose 10 are found there." He answered, "For the sake of 10, I will not destroy it." And the Lord went his way when he had finished speaking to Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place.
What the fuck is happening in that story?
Well, one thing is promise blessing number 4. 4 times God has said the same thing in different ways, but saying the same fucking thing. So yeah. It's a weird story, isn't it?
The story is all over the place.
Yeah,
Clearly,
it's the story of the 3 visitors.
Yeah, but you're only talking to one.
Yeah.
The Lord.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that. And there's a reason, well, there's a reason why there's other 2 there. Okay, and we'll get into that. But yeah, so God gives him a vision that Sarah is going to have a baby.
Right.
But then
Sarah finds that crazy because she is no longer having a period.
Yeah, but no, I'm talking about before this. I'm talking about, so before this, God gives Abraham a vision when he says about the penis skins and everything. Right. He gives him a vision saying,
I assume this is just the same story told differently.
Well, it is, but I'm saying, Jesus Christ.
Fuck you.
I'm literally trying to make that point. God gives him this whole vision.
Yeah.
And then he does this as if that never happened. Right. So which would be it's okay. Which would be weird if it was all written by the same person, but it's not.
Clearly.
Yeah, Genesis 17, the one where with the penis skin, that was written by the Priestley source. Surprised that the Priestley source cares about penis skins of children? Yeah. But the Priestley source had that whole story to it. This is the Yahwist version, which is much better writing, first of all, and uses a different name for God than the other source. Also, this is the story that continues on into the next chapter. The two angels came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. He said, "Please, my lords, turn aside to your servant's house and spend the night and wash your feet. Then you can rise early and go on your way." They said, "No, we will spend the night in the square." But he urged them strongly. So they turned aside to him and entered his house. And he made them a feast and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. But before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both young and old, all the people to the last man, surrounded the house, and they called to Lot, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we may know them." Lot went out of the door to the men, shut the door after him, and said, "I beg you, my brothers, do not act so wickedly. Look, I have 2 daughters who have not known a man. Let me bring them out to you and do to them as you please. Only do nothing to these men, for they have come under the shelter of my roof." But they replied, "Stand back." And they said, "This fellow came here as an alien, and he would play the judge?" Then they pressed hard against the man Lot and came near the door to break it down. But the men inside reached out their hands and brought Lot into the house with them and shut the door. And they struck with blindness the men who were at the door of the house, both small and great, so that they were unable to find the door. So the moral of the story, I think, is that homosexuality is wrong, but rape is fine. As long as it's the appropriate genitals.
Right.
Touching.
Right. Well, it's not rape if your dad gives them permission.
Right. Yeah. The 2 men have come under the shelter of his roof, but apparently the daughters not so much.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Nope. It's just dicks and dude butts. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting town to move to and raise your family.
Why is this where Lot settled down?
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting choice.
It is.
If this is, he seems not.
Maybe it's just really going downhill.
He seems not surprised by the occurrences.
Right. Yeah.
Like
every guy in town,
just surrounded the house and was like, fresh meat.
Fresh meat. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That happened for sure.
Right. So, and
listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't. Even logistically, if this were a true story, like you get a couple people in, it's not gonna be worth it anymore after that anyway.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you get one dude with a big dick in there, and he's just gonna ruins it for all the normal guys.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible. But yeah, the whole idea of it is like so stupid.
Yeah. Nonetheless, every hole is a goal. So there is the other story that we talked about previously with this from the book of Judges, chapters 19 through 21, which is often referred to as the outrage at Gibeah or the Levites' concubine. So this is a duplicate story, but this time, instead of being in Genesis, it's all the way over in Judges. And it's a very, very similar story where Levite and his concubine travel to this town of Gibeah, where they're offered hospitality by an old man. They even said they were going to stay in the square and all that stuff. However, the men of the city demand to sexually abuse the Levite. Instead, the old man offers his own daughter and the Levite's concubine, so 2 women, offer them up. In this story, that's exactly what happens. The crowd take at least the concubine. We never hear about the daughter, but the concubine, they take her, they rape her to the point where she to death, and they leave her on the step of the place, and the Levite dismembers her body and sends those pieces to the 12 tribes of Israel, which starts off a war between the 12 tribes and between 11 tribes and the tribe of Benjamin, which is where Gibeah is from. So that's what that story is. So it's a really fucked up. It's one of the darkest stories in the Bible, which is saying a lot. So yet another example of this is not fucking real. It's not real.
Right.
These are not real stories.
Yeah.
They're tropes, probably.
Listen. Have you been to Fire Island? There are communities where gay men exist en masse. And I can guarantee you that if a straight guy rolls up in the joint as a visitor, they're not all gathering around his house.
To rape him.
They
don't need to. They're all willing to have sex with each other.
Right.
They're fine.
So the idea of this is, it's.
What is the problem with it? I know this is not an original thought, but what the fuck is the problem with it? Why would God have a problem with it? It just doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Homosexuality?
Yeah. No. And be fine with rape.
Right. Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's annoying as hell.
No, because listen, Josh.
I'm mad as hell.
I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
It's definitely just another instance of women meaning less to the men who are writing this Bible.
Yeah, that's true.
Because of course it's okay if a woman gets raped. She's not much.
Right.
The audacity for a man to rape another man is insane.
It's ungodly.
It's punishable by death.
Yeah.
Right? Because men are men and women are property.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is.
I mean, the best recourse women had in biblical times and up until recently was that your husband would get recourse through destruction of property.
Yeah. Would be able to go against whoever raped you or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why that is worse in the Bible than the rape of a woman.
Yeah.
Because it means more than the rape of a woman does.
Yeah.
Because who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
They just are there to have the babies.
Sure doesn't seem like God cares during this.
I mean, hardly.
If God was real,
hardly ever does he care.
Yeah, you would think God would have said something during any of this.
It doesn't make any sense to me that in a book where the fucking bloodline is the most important thing, that the women would not be held in higher regard.
Yeah, I know. I feel like the last woman that was named was Eve too.
No woman who has a baby in this book is highly regarded until Mary. And even then, just barely.
Yeah. She's not even like held in, I mean, she's held in some regard in the Bible itself, but not nearly as much as she's held in regard by the followers today, the Catholics.
Yeah.
Then the men said to Lot, "Have you anyone else here, sons-in-law, sons, daughters, or anyone you have in the city? Bring them out of the place, for we are about to destroy this place, because the outcry against its people has become great before the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it." So Lot went out and said to his sons-in-law who were to marry his daughters, "Up, get out of this place, for the Lord is about to destroy the city." But he seemed to his sons-in-law to be jesting. When the morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, "Get up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or else you will be consumed in the punishment of the city." But he lingered. So the men seized him and his wife and his 2 daughters by the hand, the Lord being merciful to him, and they brought him out and left him outside the city. When they had brought them outside, they said, "Flee for your life. Do not look back or stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the hills, or else you will be consumed." And Lot said to them, "Oh, no, my lords, your servant has found favor with you, and you have shown me great kindness in saving my life, but I cannot flee to the hills, for fear the disaster will overtake me and I die. Look, that city is near enough to flee to, and it is a little one. Let me escape there. Is it not a little one? And my life will be saved." He said to him, "Very well, I grant you this favor too, and will not overthrow the city of which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I can do nothing until you arrive there." Therefore the city was called Zor. The sun had risen on the earth when Lot came to Zor. Then the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah sulfur and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities and what grew on the ground. But Lot's wife behind him looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. Abraham went early in the morning to the place where he had stood before the Lord, and he looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward the land of the plain, and saw the smoke of the land going up like the smoke of a furnace. So it was that, when God destroyed the cities of the plain, God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had settled.
Nowhere in that story does it tell you, other than like the story of what the men did when the 3 angels came to town, does it say anything else that occurs in the city?
You mean other things that were bad about the city? Yeah.
Like my whole life, people would talk about the different activities. Like Gomorrah
in Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah, the Gomorrah was full of fucking liars and cheats.
Yeah, nope, bullshit. All bullshit.
Yeah.
All made up bullshit.
Right. Yeah.
That is easily shown to be made up by just reading the Bible.
Right. Yeah, nowhere in there does it say, except for that one excerpt, anything that anybody in the city was actually doing.
Right. And anybody who comes later in the Bible, if for example, like somewhere in the New Testament, it says, "Oh, Gomorrah was full of liars," they're fucking lying. Because this is already ancient history to them. Right. Right? It's already thousands of years old.
Right.
To them. Like the writing is about 1,000 years old by the time the New Testament comes around. But anyway.
So people were complaining. It sounds to me like people were logging complaints with God about these 2 cities, and God was tired of listening to it. So he's like, fine, I'll just raise them to the ground.
Yeah.
You guys don't like it that much? I won't, do anything else to help, I don't know, save these people.
Yeah.
If they're doing stuff that's so ghastly that they need to be murdered, why wouldn't the reaction of God be like, yeah, let's maybe look into how we can change things that are happening here.
Right. Yeah.
We're just going to kill them all?
Yeah. His solution is
solution is often to kill them all.
Just kill all of the precious life that he created. Yeah.
And did they even try to look for 10 people?
Well, they only found Lot, so.
Yeah.
And then every man in the city, every last one, tried to rape them.
So there's no...
Including Lot's sons-in-law, right? He goes and finds his sons-in-law, in the city.
That's true.
To save them.
Yeah.
Wouldn't they have been trying to rape those angels the night before?
It is every man, then it must be, right?
Right.
But and so clearly, any women that you find in the city or children must not be counted towards that number. Does it have to be 10 men?
Right.
That you have to find to spare the city?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many innocent women and children are in this city.
That whole story. I mean, it's kind of like when Jacob took down
this is another example.
Jericho, right?
Again, yeah. And again, this is another example, of God killing, obviously, children.
Right.
Because there would be children in the
Definitely.
city. Yeah.
Definitely.
Including little girls.
Yes, definitely.
But they were wicked little girls.
Of course.
They were really shitty little
just happened to be born in this city.
Right.
Oh, man. I don't know. I really want to know what was going on in these cities to cause them to be fucking sulfur rained upon.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it's not listed anywhere what was going on that would cause this is really frustrating to me.
Right.
Because to me, it seems like there's no reason other than this one incident.
Yeah.
And I guess one could argue that, if they're going to do this, then this is something they do.
If they're going to do this.
If they're going to do what they did. If they're all going to go into somebody's house to try and pull out the men so they can know them biblically.
Yeah.
Go into them.
Go into them, I was going to say.
As it were.
Yeah.
Then clearly that is a statement that this is something they do. With some consistency.
Yeah.
But there's just no way logistically that all men in the city are doing that.
Yeah.
And that everyone in the city is terrible. The fact that they couldn't find 10 people in either of these cities, was it the Twin Cities in fucking Minnesota? Are they just right next to each other?
Yeah, it was like Gotham and Metropolis in the Snyderverse.
Right. Right, side by side.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It just, the whole idea of it is obviously insane. But
for the record, when it comes to are they right next to, we don't know.
Well, they're not.
They don't actually explain that very well. My guess is that there was the ruins of these two cities, probably somewhere in the area, and this is just their way of saying why this is
that looked
the way
like a volcano
according to our
on
tradition.
Them.
Yeah. And maybe there was seismic. It was probably earthquakes and stuff. They get a ton of seismic activity in there, in that area.
True. Okay. So Lot works out a deal with the angels that he doesn't want to go to the hills. It's too far or too close. I couldn't really understand his argument for that. He didn't want to run to the hills. Run for the hills.
And I think he still ends up hiding in the hills by Zor. But yeah.
Well, he was worried that the fallout would get him in the hills, even though the angels were like, go to the hills, you'll be safe there.
Right. And
he's like, I won't go to the hills. I won't be safe there.
Yeah.
AKA, I'm lazy and this is
and
too
I don't trust
walk.
you.
Right. You let me hole up in this tiny little town over here.
Yeah.
Don't destroy
Isn't
this
it
town.
tiny? Yeah.
And they're like, fine, just don't look back when you leave.
Right. Otherwise, we won't tell you why.
Right. Did that information get passed on to his wife?
Not that we're told.
So one can assume they had this conversation with him. Lot's wife, not there.
Yeah.
Flees with him.
Yeah.
Turns around to look at, I don't know, probably her childhood home being destroyed.
Yeah.
And God or the angels or whomever is like, nope,
Satan.
Salt.
Yeah.
Salt. You're salt now. Sorry. You looked.
Only time anybody's been turned to salt in the Bible.
It's only time was it transfiguration, transmodification, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
When you like in Harry Potter.
Is it transfiguration? Yeah.
When you change into a different.
So. It's kind of like Superman.
When he flies around the world and turns backward.
Well, there's that. There's also when he, I believe it was in not the one with Richard Pryor, but it was in one with Gene Hackman, I think. He throws his S and it becomes like this piece of plastic that engulfs.
Yeah, isn't that the second one? Wasn't that against the other Kryptonians?
Yeah, it was like it was a real shit show.
Yeah.
Of a movie, but yeah,
throws
the S.
That might have been the third one then.
I don't know. I can't remember. The second
one was a great movie.
It was just weird because it was like, when was that ever a superpower of his?
Right.
You know,
it's not even a superpower of his. It's fucking suit technology.
Yeah, it was so weird. It's such a like out of nowhere, and then it literally disappears too. The big plastic S. It was like they just had a big plastic S and they needed to use it in a movie, and they couldn't figure out like how to do it. So this is our new podcast about the Dick Donner Superman movies. Anyway.
Yeah, what?
God had a new power all of a sudden.
Yeah, turning the lady who looked at it into like what was it that they didn't want him to see?
Right.
Why couldn't you turn around and look?
It's like, well, then your loyalty lies with the men raping. Like, what is it? She really wanted to go back to where all the men raped men?
Has God never drove past a car crash? Nobody wants to be in a car crash, but we all look at the fucking car crash.
Yeah.
Of course you're going to turn around and Of course you want to turn around and see an entire city being destroyed by fucking sulfur rain. Why the fuck wouldn't you want to do that?
That's a good last thing to see.
Of course. Your wife, who might have grown up there, was definitely like, oh man, there's the grocery store I love to go to, going up in flames. Of course she wants to look back and see what's happening.
Yeah.
And of course, no one probably told her she couldn't.
Right.
And now she's a pillar of salt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One can only assume that we've used her body for seasoning at some point.
Absolutely.
It's just what a weird thing to insist upon. And what a weird punishment to dole out because of it. It makes no sense. In a way, even more so than the rest of the Bible. It just makes no sense.
I would highly recommend folks see the movie Don Verdeen if you haven't seen that. Stars Sam Rockwell.
Yeah, where they're basically the people from Hobby Lobby going into the fucking Holy Land to try and find treasures.
Try and fiend artifacts and stuff like that. It's hilarious movie. It also has what's his name from not Taika Waititi, but his friend Clement.
Oh, Jermaine Clement.
Jermaine Clement. He's hilarious in it. Yeah. And one of the things that they look for in that movie is
the wife.
Yeah, Lot's wife, the pillar of salt. Because again, she doesn't have a name.
Right. Right.
But
she's just the salt lady now.
But I was like, I was just thinking how hilarious it is that they keep looking for her. It's like one rain and she just melts away.
Gone.
Gone. Yeah.
Before her, the Dead Sea was not salty.
Oh, right. It was Lot's wife. It was Lot's wife. All alone. She was a girthy woman.
Yeah, lots of salt. Yeah.
Luckily, this is as weird as this family gets. Now, Lot went up out of Zor and settled in the hills with his 2 daughters, for he was afraid to stay in Zor. So he lived in a cave with his 2 daughters. And the firstborn said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is not a man on the earth to come in to us after the manner of all the world. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, so that we may preserve offspring through our father." So they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father. He did not know when she lay down or when she rose. On the next day, the firstborn said to the younger, "Look, I lay last night with my father. Let us make him drink wine tonight also. Then you go in and lie with him, so that we may preserve offspring through our father." So they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he did not know when she lay down or when she rose. Thus, both the daughters of Lot became pregnant by their father. The firstborn bore a son and named him Moab. He is the ancestor of the Moabites to this day. The younger also bore a son and named him Ben-Ami. He is the ancestor to the Ammonites to this day. Yep. It's more propaganda. It's more racial propaganda.
Those are both people that are the enemies of the Israelites in the Bible, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And again,
what a crazy idea.
Again, the universal motive of having descendants pops up as like really think about the person writing this.
Right.
That they seem to think that is such a universal motivator
to have descendants. Right.
Yeah. That's just a weird
it's
thing to be like, oh yeah, this makes sense.
It's the most narcissistic thing a human being can do is to have children.
To think your genetics are
important enough to pass along.
Yeah.
And especially in this case where it's like my DNA is important enough to pass along to create an entire people.
Right.
Okay. Lot is Abraham's nephew. Am I correct?
Correct.
So instead of going back to his rich uncle.
Right. Yeah.
He was like, I'm going to live in this cave with my two daughters.
The angels were just there. They were just at Lot's. They were just at Abraham's place.
They were like, go back and hang out with your uncle.
Right.
Also, do the girls think the whole world was destroyed?
Yeah. Well,
is this all they know of the world? So when they just came from another city where there are no people in it.
Yeah.
Why is the only option to them fucking their own dad?
Yeah. And again, why are they in the hills when they were just supposed to go to that city and stuff like that?
He was not safe in the city.
Yeah, but
he felt.
But then why did they bring up the city? Well, because then the sun set in Zor when Lot came to Zor or whatever. So yeah, it's just fucking nuts. Anyway.
Yeah.
Do you not remember that though? Like that story?
I don't know that I've ever heard this story.
I remember you telling me about this story because it was in Crumb's Genesis.
Oh, then I blocked it out of my memory, I guess. Yeah, you're probably right. I probably read it and then promptly was like, I need to erase this from my brain.
Yeah.
Because it is really crazy. Literally, like, why? Why you gotta do it with your dad?
Right.
You know there's other guys out there, right?
Yeah.
There definitely are. Unless they honestly, truly, really believe that the world did not extend past that area.
Yeah.
And they think the whole world is destroyed. And their only option at this point is if they want to, I don't know, repopulate the earth. Maybe they think they're the new Noah. The only way to repopulate this earth is to have sex with their dad because he's the only man left.
Well, also, so much of it seems to be like, well, you can't just like sleep with somebody from another place. You can't just have children with somebody who is from some other place.
Your dad is better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To keep things pure.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Nothing tainting that stream.
Right.
At all.
Yeah. But really, at the end of the day, it's propaganda against the Moabites and the Ammonites. Yeah.
But like, it's so crazy. I can't even wrap my head around it. He knows that his uncle is out there.
Yeah.
And his choice is to go live in a fucking cave with his two daughters.
Yeah.
Sounds like an insane person's option. Like, I'm scared to live in this city for some reason. So now I'm just going to go live in a cave.
I like how you're hung up on this as if this is the unrealistic part of this. Of all the stuff, I don't get why he's not living with his rich relative.
No. I just, the idea that like, it doesn't seem odd when they write it in the Bible that was the option. You know what I mean? It seems like that was the good choice he made, was that he left and moved into a cave.
Oh, right.
But we all know that that's not the case.
But most of the time when you're looking back at this, you're not thinking about the fact that Abraham is close enough to see the smoke and everything. Yeah.
Right. And he's not like, my nephew lived in that city. I wonder where he's at. He definitely like shouldn't have been killed by God. He's one of those guys that should have been counted towards being holy in God's eyes. One of the 10.
Yeah.
One of the negotiated down to 10
Well, that's
men.
why he did mention that, right? I think the idea is that he was hoping to save Lot, basically. But
yeah. What he should have said was, can you send my nephew back to me with his family before you do anything?
Right.
And then none of this would have had to happen.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have had to be seduced by his 2 daughters.
Right.
Who got him so drunk, but yet he can still apparently get a raging hard on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been with men who have been super drunk. You're not having sex with them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It just doesn't happen.
Right. He apparently didn't get wine dick.
Where did they get the wine from? Are they making it in the cave? Did they bring the wine with them?
Yeah.
Is that the thing?
Did they buy it from some dude?
They fled the city.
Who wasn't their dad?
Right. They fled the city.
Yeah.
Assuming only taking what they could carry, which was apparently enough wine to get their dad drunk.
2 nights in a row.
Right. And both of them got pregnant. Both of them are virgins.
Yeah.
Both of them got pregnant the very first time they had sex.
Right.
With their dad.
Right. Their drunk dad.
The whole story from start to finish, from the angel showing up to town to this point, is insane.
It's all insane.
It's insanity.
Yeah.
It's pure insanity.
And it is the foundation of all the religions.
Would you read this story to a child? Would you read this story to a child?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't, but I'm not Christian. You know.
Did you learn this story when you were a kid?
Yes. Not this. Not
the incest.
Not part? The 2 daughters.
Yeah.
No, they never. That was a line they didn't cross. They never brought that up. But
why?
You heard about. I know. But you heard about Sodom and Gomorrah and shit.
Of course. Did you hear more about Sodom and Gomorrah than what is actually in the Bible?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't hear about the daughters, even though that's something that is morally not good.
Yeah. Well, but no, because in the entirety of the Bible that I've experienced up until this point, the only thing you can do is have sex with your family.
Yeah.
Because you're all related to each other, because God keeps wiping out the fucking earth and repopulating it from one family.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course it's okay for them to have sex with their dad.
Right.
Everybody else is having sex with their family members too.
Yeah.
Abraham and Sarah are brother and sister.
Right. Well, half brothers.
I don't know why that's okay.
Yeah.
Makes it even better. It's half as bad.
Right. Yeah.
They only share 50% of their DNA.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people have read that part of the Bible and masturbated.
To Abraham and Sarah being, I mean, it's a very small part.
The daughters and the dad.
Oh, the daughters and the dad. Yeah. Oh. That's it's not sexy at all. Like not even the way that they're doing it.
I feel like you don't understand.
Yeah, maybe, I guess. I guess
people's proclivity to want to masturbate.
If you're going down that road, I don't know how much of it is like an incestual fantasy for you, and how much of it is just religious bullshit for you.
Yeah. Yeah. In saying that, I've read through Crumb. I read through. So our Crumb, the artist, did a book about basically an illustrated
copy of Genesis.
And he doesn't change it. He just illustrates it in his style, which is, his style. If you don't know who Crumb is, look him up.
Yeah.
So I've definitely read all of this before. But it's so funny how none of it
sticks.
Just slides off the smooth part of my brain.
Well, yeah, that's kind of like one of the magical powers of the Bible is to never be remembered in any substantive way.
Except for the things people tell you over and over and over again. And then you quickly learn that the things they're telling you aren't even part of the Bible.
Right.
They're just modifiers that have been added over time. Yeah. Like any good tall tale.
Right.
Right.
Fairy tale.
Yep.
Yeah.
Added to over time.
Yep. It evolves.
Yep.
I mean, did I say evolve?
Devolve. It devolves. It's like a game of elaborate.
It was created exactly the way it is, and it has always been that, and it will always be that. And
it's an elaborate game of telephone.
Sarah!
What?
Wake up! I had a vision from God.
And my name's Sarai. What's a Sarah?
That's what God told me. Your name is Sarah now. And I'm Abraham.
Yeah, okay. God is wasting his time renaming us. Abraham. Mr. I don't like pork. It's evil.
I just said I prefer Doesn't matter. He had other things to say too, like that we have a covenant with him and our descendants are going to be so numerous that they will make nations.
Yeah, and?
And what?
He said that before, a few times. Remember when you made that witchy shrine and killed all my pet pigeons just to have a covenant with God? Remember that? Can't get any weirder than that.
Well, since you mention it, there's one more thing God brought up about the covenant.
Tell me it doesn't involve penis
It involves
skin.
a little bit of penis skin, yes.
Why does God want penis skin so bad? What is so great about penis skin? Can't he just make more of it up there if he loves it so much? Why can't God just pinky swear like a normal person? You know what? It's fine. I won't judge. If an adult man is dumb enough to cut his penis skin off because he thinks God wants him to, fine.
Actually, it's not adult penis skins he's asking for.
Explain that.
So, again, a lot of descendants one day. Just tons of descendants. And we just need to cut off the boy's penis skin when they're 8 days old. You almost hit me!
You think God wants to mutilate infant penises?
That was my I Heart Haran mug. Dad gave me that.
And that's a sufficient exchange for you to have all these descendants?
Nations!
To what end? You won't be around to see any of it.
Well, we'll be in heaven.
And if you don't cut off the penis skins, will that mean you don't go to heaven?
I suppose so.
Are you sure we should be worshiping this God?
I am Abraham, chosen by God to father his chosen people. You will obey your husband.
Okay, Abraham, whatever you want to call yourself. You can change your name and cut off your penis if you want, but you're going to have to do it on Lot's couch. Because I am Sarai, goddammit, and you leave little boy's dicks alone.
Ugh, God, fine. I'm leaving. You are such a Lilith this time of the month.
I'm 90 years old, you inbred hick.
Next time on BSFA, we get what happens to Ishmael and Isaac's sacrifice.
Mm.
It was Isaac's sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Isaac was the one being sacrificed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Abram, his only actual sacrifice is adding a couple letters to his name.
That's the worst hardship God really asks
all of the pens and then the personalized license plate he had for his bicycle just could no longer be used.
Right. He had to update his letterhead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And his wives.
Right. Yeah.
At least for hers, you could probably, I don't know what the spelling of Sarai is, but you could just scratch the I off the end or turn it into an exclamation point. So now her name's Sarah.
Well, no, Sarah's spelled with an H. So what you do is you just turn the I into an H.
Not all Sarahs are spelled with H, is it?
No, but hers specifically.
That was a choice.
Yeah.
We don't actually know.
Abraham gets a son laid, so that's cool. And then Abraham dies. Unrelated. Yes.
We all knew that was going to happen.
I know. It's sad to let them go. We learn to love these characters.
We do.
We do.
Yes.
Too much sometimes. Especially when it comes to Jesus.
So much so that they keep bringing him back.
Right. Or keep hoping he comes back. They all live miserably ever after. Thank you so much for checking out our podcast. Help us grow the audience by sharing us with your friends or giving us a share on social media. And we love hearing from you. You can reach out on our website at bsfa.cc.
Oh, you have a powerful snap.
Yeah, I do.
Thanos, like.
Man, I'm saying got shit on me. I can snap my fingers and double the resources of the universe. And I don't.
A little more evil, I think, actually.
No, it is. My evil is complacency.
I was saying his was at least guised in like I'm trying to save people, and yours is like I could, but I won't.
It's the Marvel villain they never did.
Come on, just snap.
No,
I don't think so.
No, everyone must suffer.
Instead of a gauntlet,
not into snapping.
Instead of a gauntlet, it's mittens that you wear all the time.
Golden mittens.